suicide in men is higher. They don't feel safe letting out their emotions.
And I do think most men in a relationship and a marriage do just want to feel supported by their woman.
I want you to be in that energy because I know that makes you feel good as well. You want to be in that alpha energy. I don't want you to misunderstand that or to misinterpret that as... Welcome to Elevate, where we strengthen our relationships so we can elevate our lives.
Episode 90. What you got for us today, Jessica?
So women don't want men to be more emotional and sensitive than us.
I could understand that.
Women don't want men to be more sensitive than them, basically. So I have a video I want to share so we can talk about it.
How do you deal with a man that is more sensitive than you?
It gets strange for me in conversations like these when we talk about one party being more sensitive or more soft. And a lot of times that kind of boxes men in, and it's alarming because if a man can't be sensitive and soft in his relationship, then where can he be? Like I don't know too many men that don't want to take their guard down with their old lady. Like I don't want to have to come home and protect myself from you. Like do you know what I gotta go through out in the world, and then to have to come home and guard and tiptoe with you because I can't be vulnerable? Like, even when we use the word soft, bruh, a man being hard all the time will destroy him. Get you a man that gotta be hard all the time and see how he handle you. Bruh, a man has to find softness in himself to properly handle those parts of you. Empathy is like a huge quality that's necessary for a healthy partnership. And in order to empathize, one almost has to see oneself. And if a man can't see himself in your emotions, if he can't see himself in your softness, then again, what do you think he's going to do? So when you talk about not wanting a man that's more sensitive than you, that's you falling into training that cuts pieces of a man off. And then you complain about those pieces being missing when he show up at your doorstep.
That's funny. I love how when she first asked the question, all the women were like, oh. And then after he broke it down, everybody started clapping for him.
Right.
First of all, shout out to him because I love how he explained that.
Yes.
What do you think?
I completely agree with him. I think this is why, because I understand where women are coming from. We don't want a man who is overly sensitive where he is not capable of protecting and providing, you know? But in that same regard, I don't know, I think maybe some women might be asking for someone who's not even human at this point, because if you want someone who doesn't show any type of sensitivity, what are we talking about here? Like, we're human.
Or maybe there's women that just want the man to, let's call it alpha, let's say, and always be like that.
Right.
Like for them to just be like, oh no, my man is not soft.
Yeah.
Like what is that? Your man doesn't cry? Like he has no emotion? Like if you're not feeling your best, like he's just like, figure it out, like solve it. Like be a man. Yeah,
you don't want them to, but it's like he said, like a lot of men feel, and this is why I've said this in previous podcasts, this is why I feel that suicide in men is higher. And I feel like that is exactly why.
Because they can't fulfill everything.
They can't fulfill everything. And it's not that they can't fulfill everything, but it's just that they don't feel safe letting out their emotions. And that is an important part of being healthy mentally.
Yeah.
And so especially when you're in a relationship and you're married, it's like we've said in the past, I've expressed myself that I do feel that you're much stronger than me emotionally. You handle things a lot better from an emotional standpoint most of the time. But it's like I've said before, even though I do want you to be in your manly role, right? In your, in your most, I don't know, head of the household,
just call it alpha, because I feel like people understand that.
Right.
Not that I'm like, I'm the alpha of the house, but I am, but you know.
Right. I want you to be in that energy because I know that makes you feel good as well. You want to be in that alpha energy. But I don't want you to misunderstand that or to misinterpret that as you can't come to me if you're feeling down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, sure, there's times where I myself can't even handle myself. Yeah. And it's like in those moments and times, you know, not to come to me with more, because it's like we're both trying to deal with a lot. But emotionally.
We have even recently discussed that. Like, I don't know if it was on a podcast or just a conversation we had that it was like, yo, I'm feeling down. Like, don't come to me.
And dump more.
Because it's like.
Right. There's like no, you know, where your partner stands. But, you know, once like it's the next day and, you know, we're good. You know, I've discharged whatever I had to discharge, whatever. I've gotten over my emotional, you know, hurdle. Like, I want you to feel safe to come to me and tell me. I don't want you to have to hide. Yeah. Especially not when you're coming home. I feel like if the tables were turned and I were you, I wouldn't want that. Yeah. So I always try to see things from that standpoint. If I were you, would I like what I'm doing? Yeah. And I would like for you to do the same with me.
And I do think, I've mentioned it before, that most men in a relationship and a marriage do just want to feel supported by their woman, right? So when a man goes to the woman and, let's say, expresses what he's going down, like, I don't think he's looking for the woman to solve that issue for him. It's more like you telling him, like, you got this, or like, you'll figure it out, or like maybe a different perspective. But it's not like we're going to you like, hey, can you solve this problem for me? Like, I can't do it. Like, you solve it. Because we actually want to solve the problem. And I think most men are like that.
They're just letting it out. Just like we have to let things out. And so that's why I don't really see much of, well, if you're a man, you shouldn't do this. If you're a woman, I hate those roles. I hate putting so much labels and, well, because you're a woman, you shouldn't do this. Because you're a man, you shouldn't do this. We're not all equally the same. Yeah. And we also need to remember that we're all human beings at the end of the world, at the end of the day, trying to be better, trying to figure it out, trying to just go about life, you know? It's so exhausting to have your guard up all the time, even with the person you're married to. Mm-hmm. To me personally, I wouldn't even find it valuable to be married if I had to have part of me guarded.
Yeah. And I think like this journey of being a better husband, being a better father, just like trying to do a different path that obviously is not the most common, because coming from where we come from, like, we don't see none of that stuff. So when I decided to, let's say, leave that past life and say, you know what, like, I want to focus on my wife, I want to focus on my kids and my family, and not just be out here in the streets pretty much just recycling what we grew up with.
Repeating patterns.
Yeah. I was watching this podcast with Chris from the Modern Wisdom guy, and he was saying how when he started focusing on like self-development and productivity and just becoming a better person, that his perspective on life just changed. And I feel like I'm the same way, because it's so easy to just be like, oh, you know what, like, fuck my wife. Like, the divorce is high. It doesn't matter. Right. It's common. Like,
why do I have to be person?
I could be a person that just make money, you know, give money and just be out here partying and doing what I want. But like starting the podcast and slowly elevating, pretty much, like, I feel like it's a very good challenge for me. Like, I'm enjoying it. And I tell you this all the time. Like, I've grown a lot just from the podcast. And I'm definitely hard on myself because I know I'm not the best speaker and all that stuff. And like, sometimes I want to say things that don't come out. But it's definitely such a more rewarding path.
It's a much more rewarding.
Yeah. Because it's so hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's 10 times easier to take the easy way out of things, which is what a lot of people tend to go for. They just, well, this is what everyone else is doing. Why do I have to, you know, over exceed, you know, and just be so much better? Like, but why not?
Yeah. And to bring it back,
why be average?
Yeah, to bring it back, because I kind of left track. It was that, like, when in the beginning, like, I could have just been the
statistic.
Yeah, like the alpha, right? Like, not being soft and not showing you that I'm soft in any way. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm partying, like, you do what I tell you, this and that. Like I could have been that person.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm the man of the house.
Yeah. But me choosing to be like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. I had to kind of like be quote unquote soft. Because I had to show you emotion. Yeah. So I had to show you emotion. Like, no, I'm really here. Like, we're really gonna do this.
Let's really dig deep on that. Is that really being soft?
It's not.
It's in my opinion, it's not.
It's not. But
it's considered.
Yeah.
For the outside world, right? For the thugs, right? For the ones who are the manly man out there, manly man in quotations, right?
Is that considered blue pill?
I don't know. Let's not go into that because I'm not sure how that works. That is you being soft, right? You know, you being this husband who's respectful, who tells has good communication with your wife, you're a good parent, you're present, you're loyal. But is that really soft? It's not, because that's the hard way of doing things. That is the hard path, right? You having dignity, you having loyalty, you knowing how to have self-control
and values, like your values.
That's definitely not being soft. That's a way for them to make you feel soft, right? It's a way for them to try and degrade you, try and say, well, you do whatever your wife says, so you're
soft, like you're not the person you used to be.
Right. But in reality, when it comes down to everything, you are much more stronger and tougher than they could ever be.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's hard, especially when you're first doing it, because obviously, and I'm talking about like people that grew up in that environment, because there's people that don't grow up in that environment. You have friends and everybody's like, oh, you've changed, or they kind of start acting weird, and it's like, yeah, I'm changed. Like, I'm trying to change.
And that's
right?
what we're supposed
at that
to do.
point, yeah. So then, people start just feeling certain type of ways, and it's like, oh, you're different. Like, yeah, I'm different. You're right.
Yeah. I think some people try to make you feel bad when you've changed, and they see that all of a sudden they don't fit in the mold that you once were, right? They don't fit in with you anymore, and they try to make you feel like it's a bad thing. And change is good.
Either that, or they make it seem like you are acting like you are better than them.
But most of the time, it's not that you're acting like you're better than them, is that they are feeling intimidated.
Or most of the time it is that you are better than them.
Well, if you've elevated in life, right, and you are now sticking to your values, and you are, I don't want to say that you're better than them, but you have chosen to elevate your life.
Not like better as like, hey, I'm better than you, but
because
a better path.
You've chosen the better path because they can themselves choose the same path.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everyone is capable of being a better person, going forward. Yeah. Like, your past doesn't define you. You can choose to be better right this second. Yeah. Nothing is holding you back. But for a lot of people, that's difficult. They don't like change. Yeah. They don't like to move forward. They just like to know. They just like to stay in environments where they know what to expect, and they don't want to evolve because it's scary to them.
Yeah.
And
it's also not easy because you actually need to want to change.
For sure.
Because it's not like you can just be like, oh, I'm just going to be a better husband, but be around, let's say, people that are not great husbands. It's like, you got to go out and search for that information.
Yeah.
So like, if you're not educating yourself or even just trying, like, it's not going to happen.
And some people don't understand that. And it's difficult. It's difficult because you have people in your circle that mean something to you, that you grew up with maybe, that you have love for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good for you in the improvements. It doesn't mean that they're going to be helpful when it comes to you improving your life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are not going to be comfortable with that. So not to say that you should just forget about those people and, diss on them or anything, but you need to make a conscious decision when you are ready to evolve to start hanging out with people who are going to feed feed you things that you haven't been around, you know, to teach you things that you haven't been taught. Good, positive things, of course. And that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they're betraying their friends and their family and, you know, whoever has been around their circle for as long as they've been in this earth, you know, they feel like they're betraying their people when if they even think that. Yeah.
And sometimes it is like it could be very close family or very close friends that is like your values no longer align.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't even know if it's like a conversation that you have with that person. Or it's just like...
it just happens, right? But usually the other party feels it. Mm-hmm. And it might not be intentional. Like for me, I feel like you have to have a balance. It's not about like kicking those people to the curb and never talking to them again. Like that's not... You don't need to do that. You don't need to completely like remove them from your life. But if you know, like for instance, let's say you are a big drinker and your goal is to go sober. Mm-hmm. You don't want to drink again, you don't want to have alcohol, you feel like it's bad for your health, and some research that you've been doing has convinced you that you want to live a sober life. You don't want alcohol to be a part of you. If the people you hang out with, all they want to do is party and drink, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to stick to that if you're just around alcohol all day long, right? Or on the weekends, or every time you're hanging out, there's alcohol involved. So at that point, you have to make a conscious decision. Okay, you guys are either on board with me or you're going to have to stop hanging out. Like there's just no other way.
No, and I do feel like some people just distance themselves without you even have to say something. They kind of feel like I shouldn't be in that room. I feel like that even happened even with you when we first had kids. Like there was people that kind of stepped away because they couldn't relate no more.
Yeah. It's like I'm a mom now.
Yeah, it's like it naturally just happens. And some people do stick around and they kind of want to change, but they also don't feel like asking like, hey, how do I do it? Because I do feel like I have people that want to change, but they don't know, like either maybe they don't know that I am willing to say, hey, just do this, and that. Not that that's like I know the answers, but they feel like I don't want to use the word intimidated because it's not like I don't want to feel like I intimidate people. Okay. They just, I don't know, don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
To say they don't want to feel vulnerable and say like, hey, like my life is fucked up. I think
that's the key word. Yeah. A lot of people have a hard time being vulnerable and admitting that, hey, I haven't been living my life the best way I could, you know, and I know there's things that I need to change, but it's difficult to admit that openly. And so maybe you're right. Maybe some people just stay in the background and they observe you, and, you know, that's cool too. You know, if you can learn like a thing or two from just observing someone and, you know, just learning from their new lifestyle, that's also great. But it's also okay to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable with people, like especially if you've seen a person's evolution for the better. Honestly, I feel like if a person has put in so much work to become a better person, nothing will make them happier than to have an old friend come to them and say like, hey, I really love what you've done with your life, and like I want to be a part of this. Like, how can I do what you've done? Like, I admire what you've done. Like, how can I be a part of your circle like today? Like, I want to, not that you cut them off, but you know, like you say, people, they themselves distance themselves when they don't feel like they fit in anymore.
And then we also have to distance ourselves because at the end of the day, it's like we just don't align. So it's like, you know, like I don't want my kids, my wife, like saying, like some people, it's not that we don't love you, right? It's just like I just don't feel comfortable in that environment no more.
Right. Like there's all of a sudden you don't have things in common to like talk about, you know.
And for me, like I know for me it's drastic. Like, you know, I used to DJ like from 13 years old. So like I was in the streets. Like I grew up pretty much on the block. Like, you know, I was not in this like home that was all loving and all that stuff. So it is totally drastic from where I was growing up as a teenager to like what I am now. Like what I'm trying to push, like the positivity I'm trying to push. So sometimes I wonder if they even think to themselves, like, is he faking it? Right. And I'm here to tell you, like, I'm not faking it. Like, this is my life. Is this not my life?
Of course it is your life. Otherwise, I would not be here. Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it's also important for people to realize that, yeah, you've made the changes you've made because you've been willing to make those changes, because you yourself have realized this is a better life than being in the streets. But you also had a good reason to do that. Like, I pushed you. And I don't want to say you did it because of me, but in a way I was a source of motivation for that, right? Like, you knew I wasn't trying to be with someone that was just in the streets for the streets, just not wanting to be better in life. And so I'm sure for you that was a key motivator.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's important. Who you are around is important because it will dictate where your life will head.
True. But
it is,
I think
100% true.
No, I'm saying I'm just thinking about like people that even with that won't even like they can have like a good woman or a good man, and it's still not enough for them to
you're
say
right about that.
Like I said before, like I feel like you truly want to have that regardless of the person that's there. Obviously, the person takes into play, because if it's not a person you see yourself long term with, then it defeats the purpose. But you can still feel that way even if you have a person that you don't, let's say, see yourself with, and say, hey, maybe this is not the person, but I want to look for that person. Like, I want to look for that person to settle down and just be chill and like transition my life. So
we totally deviated like usual from the topic, but
I don't think so. I mean, it's about men being soft, being vulnerable to change.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of women are very hard on men. Some, not all of us. We're not all like that. But I feel like some women can be a little hard on man, and they're not willing to accept everything that comes with sharing your life with another human being.
Yeah.
Like, we need to see each other as human beings rather than, like men and women. Like, we're all trying to figure it out, trying to be better, and to just expect the other partner, whether it's the woman or the man, to not show any type of vulnerability because you don't like it.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it is he mentioned how some women are just being convinced of this with some of the programming, and the things that they're watching and the things that they're listening to. And it's true, like, we can't just take one person's opinion that you hear on the internet and run with it.
Even ours.
Absolutely. Because we are all different. We're all wired differently. And, we have our opinions, and that's just our opinion.
Yeah. And it's usually based on that person's
experiences.
Yeah, current situation. Like, I feel like whenever somebody's talking, like, it's usually what they're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can't just take a person's opinion online and just grab that and run and say, well, this is the only truth.
Yeah.
Because that's not true. Everybody speaks from their own perspective and experiences in life. So it's very dangerous to just think that things are black and white. Sometimes they're gray.
Yeah.
And, you have to make the best judgment for you and your life depending on your current situations. Sure, for me, there's people who I listen to online who have gained my trust because I know that they're people who have integrity. They show that they have values. They're married and they seem to be loyal. I can't, completely put my hands on fire for them because I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But from everything that I've seen, these people seem trustworthy. Yeah. And sure, I listen to them and I listen to their opinions. And those are the people that I lean towards, whenever I'm trying to find something out, their opinions matter to me because their values align with mine. So this is why sometimes, this is why a lot of us podcasters, we have our podcast and we share our opinions and our stories and, you know, the way we view things, because we believe we can make a difference in someone's life. We might not be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that is not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be liked by everyone, but we know that there's people out there who have no hope for love, who have lost, you know, faith in God, who, you know, are just out there feeling depressed and anxious about the world and thinking that there's nothing better out there. And we're here to tell you there is something better.
For sure.
We're here to tell you it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter. Your past doesn't matter. You can grow. You can elevate your life. You can become better. Yesterday, you can't change. Tomorrow, you can. Tomorrow, you have full control over. And what you do from here on is what really matters. And we are living proof of that. Our lives hasn't always been perfect. We don't come from wealth. We don't come from, and we're still not wealthy. Let's make that clear. But
wealthy,
you know,
and love.
Exactly. We have wealth and love. We have prosperity because we have a family, because our kids are healthy, because we work as a team, and we are aware that many people out there in this day and age, they're married but they're single.
Yeah.
And so we understand that we're wealthy in that way. We're wealthy because no matter what, I can be having a bad day today and, you know, I'm like, nobody talk to me, you know, and he can be having a bad day. You know, he's struggling with everything that he's trying to learn from life. But tomorrow is a brand new day and we're here for each other. And we know that no matter what, we're here for each other. And that is worth gold.
And that we're always working on it.
Yes.
It's not something that we were just like, hey, we met on MySpace. Our values align. Like we're good. We're good. Let's start a podcast.
You know, this has been years in the making.
Yeah.
Like for those of you who don't know, we met when we were 16 years old, and we have not been in a serious relationship since we were 16. But we met then, and you know, we've had very deep conversations since then, and you know, we've been through a lot of things that a lot of you guys don't know, and maybe we'll never find out because we don't believe in just, there's some things that are meant to be private, you know, but it's been many years already. We're already 33 years old, and
we're still growing.
Yeah.
And if you're new here, if this is your first episode or first clip that you've watched, like this podcast, we are like now niching down this year. We decided to focus more on marriage, relationship, not just romantic relationship, elevating your life, parenting, and just elevating pretty
elevating
much.
Your relationship so you can elevate your life.
So you guys will be growing with us because now obviously we are going to be getting more educated on stuff like that.
Yes.
Any clips we find, sometimes we do reaction clips. We put them on here.
I would love to bring like a marriage therapist.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
You're a marriage therapist.
I'm looking for anyone who's like marriage therapist or just a therapist that, you know, deals with like the family circle, social workers.
And let us know if you guys won't mind doing like remote interviews. Usually we like to bring people in, but it's a little difficult. So maybe we can try that one day.
Yes.
We'll figure out the logistics of that.
So that's it for today's podcast. Until next time.
Peace.